friends, welcome to behind the scenes of part one of the photo shoot where I'm using my adventure gear. I have low light right now and I'm filming on my iPad of all things. So sorry about the shakiness and the grain, but I need to take some pictures with my Mavic, and guess what? It needs a firmware update. So here I am awaiting the update. It's going. It's going, it's going, it's going. So, yeah, let me show you what gear is being used right now. White backdrop. Lighting is, my speed lights are back here, two SB800s with my homemade reflectors. What power do we have these guys on? Power is full power. And triggering them with SU4 mode. I assume this guy's on full power too. Raymond actually set up the studio. Full power. So my little homemade reflectors are just cardboard with bungee cords. See? That one's a white piece of cardboard. This one's a brown piece of cardboard with a white piece of computer paper taped to it. It is bent and not so new anymore, but it works. Those are on tripods, little cheapy tripods. And the lighting for me, those are lighting the backdrop. That is to blow out the white backdrop. Lighting for me is one strobe. Have the other strobe out, but it's not being used. We didn't need it. So here's my one strobe with the shoot-through umbrella. It is at 1/4 power. Yeah, 1/4 power. So that's what's going on there. Raymond, where's the camera? Raymond has the camera. We're coming in, Raymond. He is using the D810 and the 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8 lens, manual mode at f5 1/125th. Do I see exposure compensation on here? Yeah.
No, duty. Well, I'm in manual. So
yeah. Yeah, I just realized that I must have left exposure compensation on there, and that's not good. Okay. So that's what I have going on. Oh my gosh, these firmware updates take a long time. It's only 27% updated. I was so excited that the download was so fast. But now the actual update where it's updating the actual Mavic is super slow-mo. You see what a mess my office is? Ooh, I forgot to take photos with that, my shoes, right? Oh, I have to hold my iPad with both hands. I can't point to them. I have my running shoes over here. Some of my running shoes. These are the ones that I usually wear off-road. I forgot to take some pictures with them, but that's okay. I think that is all, my friends. Yeah, that's all for right now. I'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, it's the next day. Photo shoot I did yesterday. And I wanted to finish up sharing with you the actual setup that we used. So we did end up using the reflector umbrella at about 1/16th power on that one. We did end up using that for a few shots. And then for the drone shots, we moved the backdrop a little bit so that we weren't right under the ceiling fan. And I've already moved my desk back over here, but it was just in the same configuration with the backdrop just right in front of it. And we moved this light so that it was the shoot-through light, so that it was more direct onto me. And power is still at 1/4 power. So that's it for the setup. I am going to take all this down so that I can get to filming some videos.
And now here we are here in Lightroom, everybody. All right, one last thing I wanted to say about the studio is that you can see the setup here. This was the initial setup. I think actually we ended up moving this light back towards the camera a little bit more. But this was the initial setup. And what I wanted to point out was that we had the backdrop raised all the way up. And that was because we were we knew we were going to be shooting the drone flying a little bit. Also, we ended up rolling out the white backdrop all the way up to the table so that when Raymond was up on a ladder, which you can kind of see here, when he was up on that ladder shooting a little bit down at me, like in this picture, when the roll paper was all the way rolled out, you could not see it. One thing that we struggled with was, and this is something that I struggle with every time I shoot on a white backdrop and blow it out with my special little speed light and homemade modifiers, is that I put them on tripods. And you end up seeing legs. So I believe we also kind of flipped these around so that there was the least amount protruding into the photos as possible. And when needed, I end up just cloning it out. I didn't end up having to for this shoot. So that is that. Oh, I also turned off this light. You'll see this light was on. So that's that for the studio. I will tell you one more thing a little along the way here. Let's see here. Okay, that photo I just posted on Facebook because it was kind of funny because I was drinking matcha actually when I was trying to get ready because I needed a little bit of a caffeine boost. So I talked about settings, although I did not tell you about the ISO sensitivity. So it was base ISO sensitivity throughout these photos. If I can't remember exactly what I said in the video where I told you guys what the D810 was set at, but you'll be able to see what exactly each of these photos was set at up here. Typically, what we do is we like to set it and kind of forget it because, you know, I don't want to be hanging out there and Raymond's messing with the controls. It's just annoying for the model when the photographer is constantly changing settings. So I try my best, and so does Raymond, he is really sensitive to it, to set the camera how you want it and then make as few adjustments after that as possible. Now, I mean, that being said, sometimes you got to make adjustments and that's fine, but usually we try to get it all set up in the beginning. In fact, this shot was really just a shot trying to make sure that everything was firing. Speaking of which, I did mention that to trigger the strobes, because sometimes there were two, and the speed lights back here, we used SU4 mode. That is optically triggering all of these from a flash on the D810. It was just the pop-up flash on manual mode, usually at a very, very low power. We're talking like 1/32, you know, something like that, where the flash is just enough to trigger these things, but it's really not enough to affect what I look like. That being said, occasionally we end up using the flash a little bit more to illuminate me. We didn't in these ones, which brings me to my next thought of I kind of wish we had, because I ended up having to, did I do it on this one? Yeah, I ended up having to do a little bit of bringing up my face in some of these. This one, oddly, I actually had to do something up here because I had to bring it down just a little bit up here because this material's reflective, and with all of the light bouncing all over the place, off the backdrop, off the ceiling, off the walls, because I've got light walls, it ended up being a little too much for this jacket. But anyway, with these, it is kind of difficult when you're looking at the back of the LCD, the back of the camera on the LCD screen. when there's a white backdrop that's fully blown out like this, it's a little, you get a little bit, I don't want to say confused, but it is a little bit more difficult to make sure that you've got exposure spot on. So with these, I just felt like I was a little bit dark. So in a lot of them, I did bring up my face just a little bit. What was it there? I brought it up. Oh, wait, no. I brought it up 0.16 on that one. So really not a lot, but just enough to make it look proper. So going through these, you know, again, I would have brought my face up a little bit. With these, I considered doing some skin smoothing. You know, I just ended up not doing it because that's what I look like. These are not beauty shots. These are shots of me using my gear. They're not supposed to be dreamy or anything else, so I just left them as they are. Lots of stuff here. This is where Raymond was standing on the ladder. One little thing to note here is you'll see that I've got a jacket in the corner and a backpack over here. That was to define the table because it was real difficult out in this corner. You can kind of see you're missing like the end of the table here. If you follow it across, you don't see the edge. Or over here. It was difficult because the lights, the speed lights are, you know, here and here, and you ended up blowing out the edges of the table a little bit. So we certainly could have worked with it more and gotten it to where we could define the edges of the table. Instead, I said, look, wait, let's just put these things towards the edge. No one was going to know the difference that I wasn't, you know, wanting my backpack to be right here and my shirt to be right here. So that's what we did. And I kind of pulled these certain adventure things almost at random because I use so many different things out in the field, but I thought, you know, particularly topical is the Mavic. You know, I'm working with the Osmo Mobile right now, my D500. You know, I'm looking at backpacks. So anyway, that's kind of how I chose these certain things. These are things that, you know, my camera, my drone, my bag, my microphone, my watch, these are things that I'm always going to be using. Continuing on through, I don't always use such a big lens, but I thought it, you know, looks good for pictures, so that's what I used. And I do actually plan to probably bring it this summer on my big trip this summer, so I just brought it. Or I mean, I just used it. Continuing on through, another thing that I did consider in these was getting rid of the logo on my shirt or the logo on this jacket. I didn't do it because these aren't actual product photos. If I was doing a product ad for Garmin, I probably wouldn't want this little logo on my shirt since it's not a Garmin logo, but these are photos for me, so I didn't worry about it because these are the things that I use. That was an example of one where it just didn't quite work out. I went back to my normal like poses that I do in the studio, and that's not really a good product photo, so I didn't use it. But I did use it as an example of something that I wouldn't use as a product photo. Getting a little bit closer there, at least where I'm looking at the camera. And continuing through using the mobile, the Osmo Mobile stabilizer, and my backpack. Using my backpack, I mentioned in the video for everyone that I was looking for a backpack and I didn't see anyone wearing it or putting anything into it. I am looking for like a camera backpack that's also a hydration pack that I can probably run with and maybe even travel with, you know, put my computer in it. So I was looking for pictures like this one, like this one, like this one, where I'm seeing it on people and what they're putting into the bag. And I had the toughest time finding anything. So even when I'm looking at YouTube reviews of things. So yeah, so I kind of decided to take that challenge on. Of course, I've always got a USB charger with me, right? And my microphone. And my headlamp. Almost always have that with me. This is just a funny shot. I don't know what I was thinking. I was going to put the reflector umbrella away because I wasn't using it anymore. And I put it on my head. That's not a part of the gallery, by the way. These two photos kind of make me laugh. They remind me of like a high school senior portrait with like your favorite thing. But that's okay. I do love my drone. I do plan to probably use these in my review of the drone. Oh, and then this one was I saved for you guys because I wanted to show you how we, oh, sorry, I don't know if you just heard my cat sneeze. This is how we focused and figured out how we were going to frame up these shots. Because, you know, Raymond was like, okay, put your hands up where you're going to fly the drone. And so he kind of focused on my hands up here, or he focused on my face, depending on which photo. But the first ones, this is how we framed it up. So before we started getting the drone going. The other thing we did that I saved a photo right here is I covered this table with a beach towel, and then I put the drone on it. That way the drone had something to reference. You know, it has trouble with very plain surfaces, so taking off from a white table, I was a little bit concerned about about it just knowing where it was in space. So I did put a towel down on the table for that. But moving along, some of these, like this one, I'm in focus and the drone is not. But then we got to them where the drone's in focus and I am not. And that was for the video. That was the crop that I liked. Actually, I kind of like both crops now. But anyway, that's all. With this one, oh, you'll see that Raymond was at f9. That's because he was trying his best to get both of us in focus in the depth of field. So that's it, everybody. I am planning on taking all this stuff out into the wild this weekend, and you guys will be seeing that stuff next week. So if you have any questions about my setup or these photos or any of my special gear that I love so much, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys later.